Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. This episode is brought to you by L1 Automotive Training and Keith Perkins. If you're looking for education on module programming, J2534, EEPROM work, key and immobilizer, electrical diagnostics, or drivability diagnostics, Keith has a website, l1training.com, that's got over 60 hours of training videos on all those subjects and more. When I first started out doing mobile, I utilized Keith's videos on module programming in J2534 in order to get my head wrapped around what I would need for the tooling, the computers, the software setups, what kind of obstacles I would be up against when I'm out there programming modules on cars. And it was a huge benefit to me. And I continue to use the training videos that he has on his website. So I strongly recommend checking out l1training.com. The link is in the show notes. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tipping, and I'll be your host once again for this week's episode. Thank you so much for joining me. On the show this week, we've got Andrew Fischer joining Tommy and I for an excellent discussion. Andrew is a technician and a trainer, and that's going to be the primary focus on our conversation, among other things, is training and the evolution of training in the automotive space, the different types of training that you can attend and where the industry is headed, and maybe some of the changes that are upcoming. So this is pretty cool stuff. I really like Andrew. He's got a very positive outlook on the industry. He's an all-around great guy with an excellent beard. So if you watch the video on this one, you will see the beard power between the three of us. It is something to behold. But either way, you're going to like this episode. Let's jump in. Right, and there we go.
What's up?
I try to have a
Fisher.
Where's the Doritos, man? Wasn't it the Doritos commercial? Oh no, it was Bud Light or something, wasn't it?
I don't know, dude.
I don't remember.
I just try to say something stupid at the beginning of every like. It's kind of like my trademark because he didn't like my original idea for our podcast, so I have to. Now it's my way of giving him the finger.
The Avengers.
No, man. I told you, man. We're the AA, man. So we were gonna start off with like the sound of a beer bottle opening. You said no.
That's great.
It's my personal mission to say something stupid at the beginning of every podcast.
And the middle and the end.
The whole thing. I mean, it's Tommy. You wouldn't expect any less.
Yep. Anytime I'm all serious, people ask me what's wrong. I'm like, fuck, man. For fuck's sake. Damn it. So, we got Mr. Fisher today.
Oh, that's my daddy, buddy. You call me Andy.
Mr. Fisher. Wait, so call you Mrs. Fisher then?
You can do that too, but don't call me Mister. That's my dad, so I don't do the proper title thing, man. It's not for me.
It's a term of respect, man. So if you want me to call you Mrs., I'll call you Mrs.
You never respect me any other time. You ain't got to start now, brother.
Hey, man. I'm trying to be professional, and you guys make it hard for me. But no. But, all right, Mr. Andrew. We have Mr. Andrew Fischer here from Facts, right?
Yep.
What does that stand for? Fisher's Auto...
So it's Fisher Automotive Consulting and Training Services. I got to give credit to my son. He was actually the one that coined that. We were trying to figure out what to name the training business. And I don't remember which boy, so if they listen to this podcast, they're going to be pretty upset with Dad. But we were sitting at the table trying to come up with something, and I wanted to play with the name a little bit, but I didn't want to put the name in it per se. So facts came out pretty good, because that's what, from a training aspect, what you try to give is all the facts that you possibly can. So it was a nice play with the words and with the last name, and obviously the services that we're trying to offer. It's been more of the training than consulting, but we do a little bit of consulting here and there for other technicians. Trying to help them out where they may be struggling even outside of the training world. Maybe they're just struggling a little bit trying to be a tech. Trying to understand the game of being a productive technician. So do a little bit of consulting in that regard. So it kind of works.
What?
So,
What? Go ahead.
oh, go ahead.
No, no, go ahead, Sean.
Uh, okay. So, how are you when you say training? Like, what does that look like? How are you? What's the medium for that?
As in, like, so it's all technical training. I've been really blessed, had great mentors, just like the both of you guys. Growing up in the far south Chicagoland. I won't call it Chicagoland because I'll make Tommy upset. But growing up in this area, I was really blessed, man. I had Ken Sanders is somebody I look up to and idolize, known him for years. So I was really blessed that he kind of took me under his wing a little bit and helped me when I first launched this, doing the technical training, gave me some pretty good advice, and he's been a wealth of knowledge moving forward. But I try to stay, strictly technical, but I try to really stay with the foundational stuff. When it first started, I really wanted to try to hit the guys like you and Tommy, and I realized, one, you guys, there's nothing I'm gonna do to help you guys out. And the reality is, a lot of the guys in your world, especially you mobile guys, I mean, you're just at a different level than most. And what I realized quickly is it's that I don't know the percentage point here, so I'm going to throw a number out, but it's that 85, 90% of technicians that really struggle with foundational stuff. So I much prefer in person. We do some online stuff as well through TechFix, through WorldPack, through CTI. But I much prefer to do stuff in person because I get the interaction that you're looking for. The online
Yeah,
stuff makes it a little difficult.
yeah, instant feedback.
You know what's funny is I said the same thing, right? Um, but ever since I started teaching with TechFix, I've done only one in person, and then everything was just online. And not for nothing, man. There's something I really like about online.
Well,
Yeah, you know,
TechFix does it different too, though, Tommy. We turn the mics on and we turn the cameras on, so you get that interaction, which is different than most of the training companies. Everybody
mm,
else kind of mutes your camera, or I'm sorry, turns off your camera, mutes your mic.
yeah, I know.
TechFix, where it's the exact opposite, man. It's a
Yeah,
free for all.
it's oh
Sometimes
yeah.
it's good, sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but it's good because I can see, one, if the guy's rolling his eyes at me. I mean, it's usually you in the class doing that, but you know, um, there's still that interaction because you get to see the people. So in that regard, that platform has been really good for me.
So, is it just like a Zoom thing where the presenter can see everybody else's screen?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Turn the cameras on, turn the mics on. Obviously, we'll mute the mic or boot you if you get ignorant. I've never had to do
Sure.
that.
Same.
It's always been really, really good feedback, in my opinion. I've even jumped in on a couple of Tommy's when he's done the Spanish speaking stuff, and it always seems to be really good feedback. So it's the second best for me outside of in person because I really like reading the crowd. I want to know, are you really getting what I'm saying? Because if not, I want to be able to pump the brakes for a second, back up, and make sure that everybody got what I was trying to say. I don't get that when I'm just talking to a screen with no feedback.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, Fisher knows this story, but I taught my first class with only two people in attendance, and it was miserable. It was miserable. I was just like, no, 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 no.
That was an in-person
Like,
one?
no, it was online.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like my first online class. So we ended up redoing it and re-promoting it and changing the some things around so I can get more people. Because my thing is, my classes are designed for questions. I'm asking you guys questions.
Okay.
So, and the reason I do it is because a lot of programming, man, is muscle memory, right? Like doom 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 doom, this goes wrong, okay, we try this, boom 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 boom, and we're out, right? Because we don't. I tell this to a lot of mobile guys: you're not selling programming, you're not selling diagnostics, you're selling your time. You as a mobile guy, you can't push this car to the side. No, because you have travel time. You have to that travel time eats into your day, and that reduces your margins. So you have to like capitalize, and every time you're in a shop, you have to capitalize every minute. So that's why I say we sell time, not services. We sell time. And for me, it was kind of just um all right, how do I capitalize on the time, and you learn habits and you pick up habits. And so when I'm writing a class, I can only not so much remember, but a lot of these habits don't really translate well in class. So then I just ask questions and then I present questions. And a matter of fact, like I tell all my TechFix students that the reason why I ask questions in my class is because when I did my first entire my very first programming event, I asked all these questions. What the hell does PATS means? What's a parameter reset? What's this? What's that? So I asked all these questions and I answered them in class. And I'm always like, hey, I know this is a lot of information, so we can take a few minutes right now. And you guys, if you have a question, is this like Chrysler learning keys? No, this is yes and no. And I take because you know why? They will ask questions that I wasn't prepared to answer, and that's when I kind of shine, and then I find an answer, and then it's a teaching experience for the rest of the class for something that I couldn't have foreseen.
And for
Yeah.
yourself. And for
Oh yeah,
yourself. I
for
mean,
sure, dude. There's been
I
classes where people teach me stuff. I'm just like, dude, that's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
yeah.
And then
I catch a little bit of flack from some fellow instructors because I ask a ton of questions in my class. And I mean, Tommy's seen me teach with TechFix. I always tell everybody, like, if you're not willing to engage with me, this is going to be a very boring class because nobody wants to listen to me talk the whole time. But what I try to promote, and Tommy's very much along the same lines, is that class isn't mine. It's not Tommy's. Sean, it's not yours when you teach it. It's who's sitting in that classroom who's on the other side of that computer. That is their class. It may be
Mhm.
your content, but that's their class. So I really push to get people engaged and talking and maybe push them out of their comfort zone a little bit too, because maybe that's the next trainer sitting in the room and they're maybe what it takes is you, me, whoever the case may be, to kind of break them out of their shell. So I love the interaction back and forth. And I've caught some slack from good friends and fellow instructors for it. But for me, that's the only way I can be. I can't be the guy standing in front of the room and all eyes on me. I need interaction in some capacity, and usually it's with a little bit of humor. I like to poke fun of myself the entire time I'm up there. I've heard Tommy do the same thing. The main objective, in my opinion, and this is going back to when I taught high school, is you want to put yourself on the same level as everybody else in the classroom. In any class I walk into, I'm at the exact same level, or maybe even beneath some of these people in there, and I think it makes it a little more comfortable for the crowd that's in there with you. It makes them feel a little bit more at ease and a little bit more at peace to ask you questions and get involved.
Yep. That's the key too, is the engagement. And it was when I was in college too, is like I would have set things throughout to like initiate engagement, because if you get them either asking a question or even just responding in some way, let- let's say this, like even if it's one of us, we're going to a class we're really interested in, right? It's a presenter, like we really like their classes or their material. If they're just to stand up there and talk for 4 hours, your mind's gonna wander. You're gonna go off on other things. You're gonna check your phone, whatever. But if you're interacting with them, if you're asking questions, if they're, going back and forth with you about something, like you're in that class, like you are 100% engaged and you're going to get the most out of it. So that was always my thing when I would build a college course. Like I'm making my class, and that's the balance, right? You have a goal that you want to get out of the class. Like we're here to cover this. You kind of have to manage it, but there were set points through it where I'm like, I'm going to pose a question or have them do something or something to get everybody like part of the class. And it makes a huge difference. Otherwise, you see people, doing one
Yeah,
of these or on their phone or, yeah.
agreed. Otherwise, you're a Baptist preacher, man, and
Yeah.
I can't be that guy. That's not the way I'm built. Obviously, it's not the way you guys are built either. it's full engagement. And I I think it was Pedro one time. He's like, Andy, you got to be careful. And if I'm wrong, Pedro, call me out on this when you listen to this. But I think it was Pedro had called me one day and was like, "Man, you gotta be careful. Like, if they get their answer wrong, you might turn them off from asking a question." But the reality is, if they're willing to have growth, and if they are wrong, they're gonna realize like, "Hey, now this makes more sense," and maybe now they're more comfortable talking about it. So, it's a fine balance, and I like even when they're quote unquote wrong because sometimes they're not wrong. They're just looking at it from a different lens that maybe you didn't think about. So now
Yeah.
you can twist it too. I mean, I'm
Yep.
I'm all about adapting on the fly. I kind of go against the grain from an instructional standpoint. I don't prep, especially my own stuff. I've wrote it. I know what's in there. I might give it a quick glance over just to refresh some things, but um, I don't normally prep on anything I write, and even the stuff I teach for other companies. And I'm going to catch a little bit of flack from some guys, but I feel if I'm going to get in front, and I felt comfortable enough to accept the role of teaching that particular class, I feel really confident on it. And again, it's all about getting the group involved, and maybe it does go off the rails a little bit. Sometimes that's needed. Maybe they really had a question of something that they thought maybe pertained to what you were speaking on, but maybe not exactly. And it's kind of cool to kind of have like that full circle moment for me. So that's I kind of go against the grain in that regard, and it seems like most people enjoy it. Obviously, you're going to get some that don't. Nobody's going to like everybody 100%. But I usually get pretty good feedback because you try to stay humble and answer questions. And I've stood in front of the room and somebody's called me out once. And we're like, "Hey, you actually got that wrong." And in retrospect, you're like, "Oh, I did." And now it's a teaching moment. And again, it puts you at the same level because what always upset me from a student standpoint was sitting in a class and I'd listen to the instructor speak, and you're like, how the hell did this guy get so intelligent? He's not making mistakes. Where I very much embrace my mistakes. Most of my classes that I write are this is Andy screw ups and this is how he figured out how to fix it. And again, I want to make people comfortable because maybe we do have that future, high school, college, technical instructor sitting in the seats, and they see that it's okay to be wrong. Like as soon as you're comfortable being uncomfortable, this becomes a lot of fun.
Hmm. Yeah, the vulnerability piece of it is huge to connect with people because yeah, hey, I'm doing the same thing you are. This is just what's helped. And then, like you were saying with the questions, whether they get them right or wrong, it's a thermometer, right, for how you're doing. And you mentioned earlier, like as far as like, okay, people are at different levels, and you don't exactly know what the crowd is in front of you. It could be like they're completely missing a foundational thing that you just assumed that they knew, and you're blasting past it. I actually did a local training for some electrical stuff, and these are all professional technicians, and I was assuming that hey, they had some real foundational stuff, and it turned out they didn't. And so we just backed up, like, okay, we got to get this down because there's no sense in me talking any
Yeah.
further on this other stuff until you guys understand what I'm referencing here. And that's your thermometer, is what they're answering with those questions.
Yeah, and the reality is, both of most, and I'm going to include myself in this. It's foundational mistakes that we make. Um, you guys are in a little different situation, being mobile. But like for me, usually when I've made a mistake inside the shop is because I overlooked something extremely basic, extremely foundational, and then I learned real quickly, like maybe I'm not as well versed in this as I thought I was, and you're giving yourself a little bit of constructive criticism, and that's okay. And if you realize, like, if you're struggling with this, I'd like to think everybody else is. So being able to back that up a little bit and go backwards, I think, and adapt on the fly is a huge thing too. Not again, I'm not a systematic guy. That's just not my brain doesn't work that way when I'm teaching or or instructing or whatever the term is you guys want to use. But I'm not systematic in that way. I like to gauge the crowd and gauge who's in there because maybe I got a room full of studs in there that have been there, done that, and they're very solid foundational. And then we can progress a little quicker. But if not, I mean, the foundational stuff's what I I personally love to teach on, especially from a drivability standpoint. Most of what we see, or at least again in my situation, a lot of what I see is just foundational, and we just got to have a better process to get there.
Um, Question. This is a little bit back. You mentioned CTI. Did you say you do training with them as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you do classes that other people have wrote and developed? I know I've talked to some other people with.
Yes,
Okay,
it's tough.
how do you do that? Because I've never done it, and I've talked to people. I'm like, I don't think I could do that. I would feel so strange about it.
It's tough, and our good buddy Brandon Steckler touched on this a couple weeks ago in a post that he had. If you prep correctly, the classes, nobody's going to ever know that you didn't write that class. So if you know the content, you feel confident with the content, you've prepped, you know the case studies, and truthfully, I usually omit their case studies and throw my own in just because I know
Okay,
that car
okay,
inside and out, and we have that leeway to do that.
okay.
Or you might know who wrote the class, and then you give them a call and are like, hey, why'd you go about it this way? Why is this?
Yeah,
Um,
I would be doing that for sure.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, it's fun because like the foundational and the theory, and that doesn't change.
Right.
Maybe the way they go about explaining it does, but it's a different it's a different realm, and I think the instructors that really shine at that, um, they're very well rounded. I mean, I think of Rich Falco. Rich, I look up to immensely from that standpoint because I mean, yes, he's written some classes from CTI, but that dude's a warrior. I mean, he's teaching stuff, day after day after day across the country, and it's mostly a lot of times not stuff that he wrote, but he's had to research the hell out of it to get there. Um, I don't know if you want to say lucky enough. I had about a full year before they really worked me much. Um, so I got to really spend some time in the classes, prep, found a couple mistakes because at the end of the day, we all make mistakes when we write a class, make sure people are aware, hey, we seen this mistake, we saw this mistake, let's get this fixed. So I feel pretty confident. Now Thursday, I'm piloting our first time ever a turbo class, and full disclosure, I'm nervous as hell. I mean, I've been prepping for that class for 3 months, and I truthfully do not feel confident. It's a well-written class. Lonnie Horn wrote it. He did an amazing job. He does an amazing job at all the classes he's written for CTI, but it's tough. It is tough because you didn't research it, so it may not flow the way you want it to. So you don't want to teach to the slide. I try my best to never teach to a slide. Like I want it to be real world application. So I kind of it's different. It's a different mindset going into those classes versus ones you wrote.
Sure.
Could you imagine trying to teach a Tommy class like they're, he knows exactly how that's supposed to flow. And he knows insert a your mama joke here or something along those lines. But that would be tough. But we're blessed. I'm very blessed. All of us instructors with CTI, it's decent content. They do a pretty good job writing it. The R&D guys do pretty good, and they're always looking for feedback from us instructors. And there's still quite a few of us that work in the field every day too, that's big. I mean, if you're gonna develop and
Yeah.
write content, I feel you have to be in the shop, and I
Yep.
don't mean that as a shot at anybody. It's not a disrespect, but I think it's easy to become disconnected if you're not actually doing what the guys in the classroom are doing with you.
Yeah. Within a matter of a year or two, you're gonna be disconnected. I
Yeah,
mean, it definitely depends on the topic, but it doesn't take long.
Yeah. Yeah, foundations don't change, right? I mean, T&O, theory and operation, it doesn't change. Um, but the way maybe a different testing technique, maybe a new tool came out, I mean, heck, maybe just a different car that kind of threw a monkey wrench into everything you've ever known.
Hmm.
So I think for me personally, I could never get in front of a crowd if I'm not in it every day to day. I've had opportunities to go full time teaching, and I'm humbled I've been asked, but I truthfully could never do it full time because I couldn't jump out of the base. It's just where my heart's at.
yeah. Fuck these cars. I'm tired.
Well, that's why you're trying to be a big time business owner, brother.
I want to teach, man. If I'm be really honest with you, man, but it is a balancing act, man. I don't think I can be skilled enough to teach something that I didn't write because of the way my thought process, the way I think. I don't think it would translate well. So I don't ever think that I can. I mean, I never say never, right? But if like Brandon said, if I were to actually sit there and do something, but one thing about me, man, if I'm not super passionate about something, man, and there's nothing motivating me to do it, and
Agreed.
especially like I was always taught that when you do something, you do it right, you give it your all, and I don't think that's for me, and it is what it is, right? I feel like we need a little bit of everything, um, but I also feel that the training industry is losing a little bit of its luster, man, and um, I don't know. I don't know if there's any easy solutions, man, because it's like some training is better than nothing, but then some training is not better than nothing, you know? So,
Yeah, I think you just summed it up though, man. I think the passion's gone with a lot of people right now. And understandably so in some regards. I mean, all of us, I mean, the three of us in this group right now, man, we're all trainers, right? And we're good friends with some of the industry's best. We talk to them, and you definitely see there's some growing pains, I guess, maybe the best way to put it, or maybe if it's even like just the pushback that you're getting. I mean, it's definitely tough. This isn't for the weak. If you got into this as a trainer because you're thinking of the outcome, you're in it for, or I'm sorry, the income, you're in it for all the wrong reasons. I mean, none of us did this to get rich. That's not, you don't make
that's
what
for
people
damn
think
sure.
you don't make what you think people, or let me rephrase that. We don't make what people think we make. You're in it for the outcome, not for the income. And, the minute you make it about money, which I have witnessed some do, um, it becomes an issue, or if they got into it because they wanted their name in a limelight, that becomes the issue. For me, it was never about, I could care less if I walk in a room and nobody knows who I am. But if somebody sat in my classroom or in an event and they listen to me speak and they send you a message later on and said, "Hey man, something you showed me there just saved my butt," or "I've incorporated this testing procedure because I've heard it multiple times, but maybe you were the one that got through to me." That's what it's all about. I mean, I know you get those messages, Tommy. I'm sure Sean, you've gotten those messages, especially college level. I mean, I've had that with the high school kids, which was awesome. Excuse me, but getting that feedback that even if you had a room full of 1,000 people, if one person walked away with anything and you changed their mindset a little bit, you did your job. You know, good friend of
Hmm.
Tommy and I's, Glenn Todd, one time told me, man, I was really struggling. It was an identity crisis for me. Like, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing? And he told me one time, and I'm going to paraphrase this, and I'm probably going to screw it up, so Glenn can correct me later on if I'm wrong. We know he will.
Oh, you sure will.
Um, uh, he said something along the lines of, if you helped one person and you taught that one person how to make an extra hour a day, right, or maybe an hour a week, you really just you changed their income. And not only did you change their income, you just changed their whole family dynamic and their family tree. You've just helped with the generational shift for them. Like that adds up over time. And I guess sometimes maybe as an instructor, I think some of us, and I know myself, obviously that's why I had this conversation with Glenn. We lose sight of that.
Yeah.
It's not the politics. The politics of teaching suck. We all know it. Um, but if we can look past that and understand, like, the whole reason we got into this was either, at least for me, I can only speak for me. I got into it because I felt if I could become a trainer, it would make me a better tech because it was going to force me to have to learn. So full transparency, that's why I got into this. I wanted to become better, and I felt the only way I could become better is I had to push myself a little bit harder to get better to speak on things. So, that's the reason for me that drives me. And now, my biggest push now is just trying to help people. Again, I was blessed. Um, Chicago's just dripping in a wealth of knowledge with all the great instructors out here. So, at this point, I'm big in it's time to pay it back, and even if it's only with one person, um, that's the whole reason we do it. That's the main push. So when everything gets you down, when maybe you didn't get picked up for an event, or they tried beating you up on the pricing you're charging, or it's political because you're not friends with the right person, so you can't get in with this one. I kind of
You just described me.
no, show me where I hurt you, Tommy. No, but serious. I mean, it's serious, dude. Like you got to remember why you did this in the first place. And when I first started getting into it, all I ever heard was no. And I think the greatest business advice I ever got, I don't care if it's automotive, if it's any business world you're in, establishing no is huge. Once you establish the no, now you know why. So now you can push a little harder.
Yeah.
So, I just use it as a lot of times it's motivation. I'm big too. And somebody one time told me I could never do this. So forgive my language here, but the minute somebody told me you can't do something, fuck you, watch me. I'm going to show you wrong. Like, tell me I can't do something. You want to motivate me? Tell me I can't do it. That's always been my biggest motivation.
You sure can't lose weight.
Dude, I'm down like 10 pounds, bro.
He must have took a mean ass shit yesterday.
I dropped the Tommy.
Nice. Hope it was a hot one.
I always thought of it as like trajectory, right? Especially in college level, but it's true at the professional level too. Is like I'm not gonna change your life with my course. Definitely not. Like uh, it's just that's not gonna happen. But if I can change the direction you're heading by 1%, that ends up being a lot over time. And it's not bullshit because somebody's all done that to us at one point or another. There was that one person where even if it was just the interaction or even just watching them, you're like, oh, okay, I want to do this. This is really interesting. And it completely changed the direction your career was going, right? And so then maybe if you can do that in small little sections within a course or whatever you're, providing people with information, that was the way that I thought about it. But on the flip side, like you were talking about, the amount of effort that it takes to put in while you're still in the field, which I also think is important, is crazy. And the times that I've been building classes and working, like when I'm done with that class, I'm like, "Oh, I gotta take a break from this for a while because it's like all the time after work on the weekends. I'm like trying to get this ready. I want it perfect. I want it ready to go. And like I gotta take a vacation from class writing, and my girlfriend's happy when I'm done with that too. So it's tough to keep up with that stuff.
It is, man. And I want to back up real quick, Sean. Don't discredit yourself. You say trajectory, but I promise you, somewhere along the line, you've changed somebody's life. That's hard. I know that's a hard compliment to take, but somewhere along the line, you showed somebody something, whether it was a tip, a technique, or even just the way you carry yourself. I promise you, you've changed somebody's life. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's why we're here. And that there's some weight to that, and I think sometimes we
Hmm.
forget that, and it's easy to go, oh no, 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 no. And I was that guy, and I'm not trying to be like. I'm not trying to like boast. This is not ego speaking right here. But the reality is somebody did it for, like you stated, somebody did it for you. I assure you, somewhere along the line, you've done it for somebody else. And if there's any reward to dealing with the back end BS that we have to deal with, it's that. So
Hmm.
every late night, every car that kicked your butt that inspired you to write a class, like just remember at some point you're going to help somebody in some capacity, and it's going to help them. I was blessed. I've spoken on this in a couple of the other podcasts. I owe Brandon Steckler so much. B's changed my life, man. I was ready to get out of the industry. I had accepted a job at the steel mills out here. I was getting out, man. I was done. And I sat in his class at Super Saturday. I believe it was either 2017, 2018. I don't remember the time now. And I came back home and I ended up backing out of the job last minute, and I stuck with it, and it changed my life. I mean, at the end of the day, he changed my life, and it's been a push for me ever since to do the same thing for somebody because I don't think he brushes it off because I tell him all the time, like, bro, you changed my life. Just like I know Easy tells John Thornton that all the time. Um, but it's true. It was a life-changing moment just seeing this dude have so much passion about something he was instructing on. I mean, it was his pressure pulse class. I know that helped a lot of people, but really it changed my life because it made me realize that there's so much more out there. So, it's been a push for me for the last, I'd say 18 months that I've really been 18, 24 months that I've really been doing this that I just want to pay that forward. I want to be able to help somebody the way that Brandon or again Ken Zanders did for me. Those are that's heavy weight for me. That I owe that to them to do that, if that makes sense, and I owe it to myself. It's all
Yeah.
about paying it forward, man. At the end of the day, this industry is kind of shitty anyway at times. But I do think sometimes what happens, and Tommy better close his ears here for a minute. I do think there's more good than there is bad. It's just the bad BS gets brought up more often than not. But I mean, I've seen, being part of Shop Fix and being part of Tech Fix. I mean, I've seen some life changing stuff happen, man. And you're changing family trees. You're changing. You're giving people freedom. There's way more good than bad goes with it.
I don't disagree with you at all, man. The problem is if we don't talk about the bad, it's never gonna get fixed. It's just gonna get swept under the rug like the last 40 years, man.
Yeah, it could, or you could look at it this way. If you don't acknowledge it and you only focus on the good, at some point everybody else is going to see you're always focused on the good stuff. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, really. I'll let you be Eeyore. I'll let you be the perfect pessimist. I want to be the optimist. This career, this line of work has been nothing short of amazing for me. I've been extremely blessed. I there's no other way to put it. It's been a good career for me. Yes, I've been through the lowest of lows and the highest of highs, but this career allowed me to raise or was allowing me to raise four kids. I got two boys graduating next Friday, and this career and what it brought for me, from financial gain, allowed me to give my sons and now my daughters a really good life, and along with my wife and I. So I'd rather focus on the good. There's way too much bad stuff. Everybody wants to bring up the bad stuff, and if that's what they want to do, that's cool. It's just I want to focus on the good moving forward. That's my thing, and we're always going to have some. I don't care what line of work or what you got going on in life. I mean, Tommy, you're well aware of everything going on in my life right now. We could sit and focus on the bad and the bad stuff that's happening, but I think that's just what people do too much of. I'd rather focus on the good.
Yeah, but my thing is, and you're not wrong, right? Like me, I focus too much on the bad, but it's because the love is there. If I didn't give a shit
Great.
about this industry, then I just I wouldn't even be here right now, honestly. I,
Well, I
I I
mean,
wouldn't be having these conversations. I wouldn't be, or and generally speaking, it's because I care so much. Is because I'm so opinionated. Because I want this industry to thrive. I've said it before, dude. I'm beyond blessed in this industry, dude. I used to sell. You're talking about you were the lowest of the lowest, dude. I used to sell used tires and used batteries, man, in the West Side. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like you talk about stereotypical. That's like a step away from working at Home Depot. I mean,
that's where I met you.
exactly. So
I
it
picked
is,
I, I picked Tommy up at a Home Depot one day, and the rest of the I'm just kidding, guys. Total joke. Inside
and
joke.
and then and it's just like and I'm about to take a trip to Australia to teach programming, right? And it wasn't that much of a time frame that all this happened. This is only 10, like it's gonna be 10 years next year that I stopped selling tires or kind of shied away from it. I officially stopped like 2019, but that's what's wild to me. Like I don't think I would have been able to have this progression in an industry and doing anything else. So I love it, but I want to fix it. That's my
Well,
that's my end game. I
it,
want to make this industry better for the next generation. The
well, that's
problem is
passion.
there's not a lot of people who care because either the industry serves you for what you want it to do, like some people, and for some people they just don't care enough, in my opinion,
Hey,
right?
have you ever been faced with the challenge of sourcing, installing, and programming a used control module in a vehicle? I know a lot of us have. It seems to be happening more and more often today with the volume of control modules on vehicles, the cost of some new ones, or even the availability of new control modules. In some cases, used may be the only option. So what do you do here? I strongly recommend checking out SJ Auto Solutions and Tommy Oliva. Tommy offers a cloning service for used control modules to make these things plug and play for the vehicle that you're working on. In a lot of cases, he is also able to source the control modules if you're unable to locate one for the vehicle that you're working on. But once you get connected with Tommy, he's going to offer fantastic support from start to finish to make sure that that control module is going to work in your application. He's also got tech support that he offers through his website, along with some free resources there as well on information about used control module programming. So make sure to check out SJ Auto Solutions. I can't recommend that enough.
They just don't care enough, in my opinion, right? And I'm not saying that's what you is. Like, we're all gonna contribute to this industry differently. If I have to be that asshole that put some change into place, then I'll fuck it. Nah, I
Yeah,
don't
no,
care.
I get it. I mean, what's the reason you guys do the podcast, right? I mean, in my opinion, I've seen two shining stars that really wanted to bring awareness to stuff. I mean, when Sean started this by himself, how long ago was that? A couple years back now, right? It
2020.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely you were out there trying to make a difference and trying to bring awareness to it. So there's different ways of doing it. And I'm not saying my way's the best. I'm not saying your way's the best. I'm just saying, like, I just think too often the bad is what's focused on. And yeah, there's some really crappy technicians. There's some really crappy shop owners. There's some really crappy trainers. I mean, there's crappy people in every aspects of life. But I choose to look at the good just for the simple fact because I have been blessed, and I don't want to be. It takes more energy for me to be pissed off all the time than it does to be happy. So I'd rather try to be the shining light than I would be the doom and gloom. And I'm not saying that's what you're doing. I'm just saying for me, if I voiced my frustrations when they happen, I would definitely, Tommy, you would not be the asshole. I guarantee you, I would be blacklisted across the board. Um,
I
and
already am. I don't give a shit,
if,
and I really haven't said anything. That's the sad part, right? Like, I haven't really said anything much of like, yeah, this sucks. This isn't fair. This needs to change. If not, at the end of the day, it's like I feel like the automotive industry and subsequently the automotive training industry has gone the Wall Street way. And what I mean is, like, everybody's worried about now. How much can I make fiscally? How much can I make fiscally? But you're not planting those seeds for tomorrow. You're not giving the opportunities to the next JT, the next Ziegler, the next Steckler. Um, every single one of these people, man, they started off independently. They started off small. And I think we need to go back to that, man. I think we need to go back to our roots and just,
agreed.
small, uh, like not so much hands on, but small,
Homegrown.
yep, little network of technicians. Dude, there's some brilliant technicians
Oh,
that can be instructors, man. But it's so difficult to get recognition, and respectfully, in my opinion, a lot of the people who do get recognition really don't merit it, right? Like, there's a lot of that too, and it's like you start seeing behind the scenes, and it's just kind of like, yeah, this sucks, dude. Like, you shouldn't even be fixing my dinner, like, uh, and you're over here trying to tell other people how to fix cars. Yeah, okay.
no, and I get that. I mean, you got some that get out there and blatantly give false information. We all see it. Just to get recognition of some sort, and that's disheartening.
Yeah.
And then you've got others that are really trying to give proper information, or maybe they gave disinformation unknowingly, and they do try to go back and fix it. But again, like we could focus on the bad, but at the end of the day, we all know the bad usually is what controversy sells. right? That's why Hollywood's the way it is, or Wall Street's the way it is. So I agree with you 100%. You know, you and I have had deep conversations about going back to homegrown. You know that if we want to make a difference, we got to start in our own area and start building each other up. And I'm going to kind of counter what you say. There's never going to be another JT. There's never going to be another Easy. There's never going to be another Brandon. And that's heartbreaking and exciting all at the same time. So that means we're going to have somebody else come in that's going to set the stage on fire and bring their own mix or their own personal flair to it. So while it sucks, we're starting to see, you know, like JT starting to step away a little bit, and some of the others that we've grown to love and respect. I'm really excited about what's coming up. And I don't, you know, I think about Michael Jordan, right? You know, we're Chicago boys. You know, there's never going to be another MJ. And the worst thing we ever did is we started comparing players to MJ. Um, I want to see some guys that just shine on their own and bring their own personal flair to it, you know. And you see glimmers of hope quite a bit, but then all of a sudden they disappear
Well,
or they
that's
never got the push. So
in
that's
in
that's
essence,
the homegrown thing, right?
it's in essence that's the issue, right? Obviously, nobody is ever going to compare, and even like respectfully speaking, in terms of the basketball analogies, um, to me, Mike is going to be my goat, but that doesn't discredit Kobe. That doesn't
Correct.
discredit every generational talent is going to be, and that's kind of what I mean is that we're not going to be able to discover the next generational talent if we keep going the way we're going, and that's kind of
Agreed.
why I said what I said because that's exactly what's happening. There's a lot of young bright stars that I've met and seen who just fall by the wayside because they just it's and again it's a little difficult too because one of the things that Tech Fix and Shot Fix has taught me is you have to stay on. You can't be jumping around. So a lot of the times there has to be like you're right. At the end of the day, it can't be about income, but you still got to eat, man. So if it's not
Yeah.
feasible to do it, because if you really look at the pay scale right now, sponsored in order to get more than just being sponsored and commanding that, you have to have the recognition. What do you need for recognition? You need time. So it's just it's a it's a work in progress. But
Is
realistically speaking, I think my I have about 100 hours into my Australia class,
hmm
and I'm not done yet. So because I keep like, oh, you know what, I should add this. Oh, I just
Yep.
keep
Yep.
adding, I keep adding, I
Yep.
keep
it's
adding. I'm
it's
gonna be adding it
this
until
thickness.
I'm gonna
It
be
is.
on that big
Yeah.
airplane just clacking away.
No, it was too. Yeah, I was like
Oh,
changing
dude.
it on the plane
Yeah.
right down there.
So,
Yeah.
and,
Oh, man.
and it's just the nature of it, right? And we go with it. But here's the thing: the class that I'm gonna teach for Australia is it's geared towards them, and I'll be able to take snippets here and there or whatever, but there's nothing that I can really bring back here. So that's just it. I got 100 hours to go teach for 8 hours, and that's it. So it's kind of
Yep.
like, but it's a pebble in the right. It's a step in the right direction. It's a little pebble for your little pond.
It's a
But at the end
ripple.
of the day, it'll work for the recognition. But everybody's financial disparity is going to be different, and that's kind of where it's like, what's the balancing act, man? Because it doesn't matter, you still need to spend 40-50 hours to teach 4 hours like that on I don't know if that's what
Yeah.
you guys have done or whatnot, but I think
Oh,
I have about 40-50 hours, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's a crazy amount of time to develop a 4 or 8 hour course that you put into it, especially the first time around. Is ridiculous.
uh,
I do want to give like a shout out, and I know you guys are both aware of the Tech Talks thing that they've done at Vision the last few years, because that's something though where they've allowed some people who don't maybe have any recognition or experience or anything like that. I mean, you, Tommy, I think that was your first time in front of
mhm.
like a professional crowd, right?
Yeah,
Um,
I was
and
spitting bricks.
I think everybody is that does that, and what a cool thing that they had there. I'd love to see more of
Yeah,
that, where it's just
that's
like
that's
let's
what we
get
need.
some people up
Yeah.
and give them a shot, and okay, maybe they're a little nervous or maybe it's a little bumpy, but get them up there, give them a short window of period. That was a fantastic idea for that. So
Yeah, I'd love to see more of that too, and I think that's where I really enjoy TechFix, because I think TechFix gives that opportunity to guys, especially, we're going to give you a lunch and learn for an hour to like kind of break you in, or we're going to bring you to one of the events down in Tennessee, and we're going to give you an hour, but you're going to run it twice to get comfortable before we main stage you. I really like seeing stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think that goes back to that whole homegrown roots thing that Tommy and I have really spoken about a lot. That there's some great trainers out there, and maybe they don't have 8 hours of content to teach, but man, maybe they got that one or two case studies with some theory behind it that'll eat up an hour.
Yep.
I think we got to find a way to really bring these guys in and get them comfortable. And I think part of the issue you run into is some become scared. I got to be honest with you. Like if guys came in and my I don't even know the term I'm looking for here, but people wanting me to come out and teach, if that dropped because you had some up and coming people coming in, then man, that's a beautiful thing, really, because again, this is still a business, and that's the thing I don't think is talked about enough. To be a trainer, this is still a business. So when you guys are talking the hours you spend in developing a class, I mean, there's got to be ROI on it too. And there is some big disparities in this, and it creates a lot of issues. I mean, my most recent class, my exhausted class, I spent the better part of 18 months developing and researching, and I've only got part one of it done. That is really built to be an 8 to 16 hour class. And in a case like that class, I had industry experts vet it. Mike Black Canary, um, Hawken did a lot of
Thought you said
vetting.
experts. Oh crap! I thought I was muted.
Even Fonslow. I mean, I sent it to Fonslow and asked him to look it over. When you care and you really want to put forth the best effort that you can. I mean, you spend many sleepless nights, and then the first time you run it, you're like, damn man, I could have done so much better. I should have done this. I should have done that. And then you go back to the drawing board, and you're on it for another 50 to 100 hours trying to make it better. Um, you're always going for excellence, and I think people lose sight that we all have lives outside of the automotive industry. Oh, let me phrase that. Most people do. I'm kind of a geek. This is all I know. But I got a wife and four kids. They take a back seat from time to time, so we can write these classes because I feel there's a need and I want to help, and as do you guys. And there's got to be some sort of compensation for it, because again, at the end of the day, it's like anything else. There has to be an ROI. And far too often you get events that just kind of want to spit in your face and tell you, hey, we ain't got the money for that, but yet you know they got no problem flying in somebody else, or doing whatever the hell it is on the back end. Or the only way you're coming is if you get sponsored. Well, what people don't realize, if we get sponsored, we take a hit. And now I'm not hating on it, man. I've been super blessed. I'm not that's not what I'm saying here. The sponsors I get have been very gracious to me, but realistically, it's pennies on the dollar of what you could bring in if events were more apt to paying the instructor to come in and do some of this. Maybe you don't pocket as much on this event, but you're gonna bring in some top tier talent that really put in a bunch of time and a bunch of effort into a class that they wrote.
So what's the resolution to that other than events just you know manning up? But like,
Well,
what's the alternative?
all right. Let's. I want to answer. Then I want Fisher's opinion because I don't. I'm kind of dumb today, so I don't want to lose my train of thought.
Today,
So just today. I'll remember that when you call me. I'm like, hey, sorry,
I,
dude. I'm dumb
dude,
today. Later.
dude, Tommy, oh, before he loses his train of thought,
Don't give me them damn hearts.
hold on,
Man. I'll tell you where to stick them.
before he loses his train of thought, Tommy does get phone calls from me at least once a week of, hey, dude, I just screwed up big. I need your help. So I will not deny that to anybody. All right, continue on, good sir.
I lost my train of thought. No, so I just think that locally, what would be beneficial is, on average, a shop has, let's say, 4 techs, right? You get 3 shops, you got 12 techs and the owners. That's 20 people on average in one shop, and they hire somebody to come out, man. I mean, I just do the math. How much, Sean? How much was it for you to send your employee to the latest training event?
Well, are we taking into account paid time
Total,
off and lost
Yeah,
revenue and
yeah,
loaded,
all in,
loaded,
all in.
loaded, loaded.
probably $10,000?
Okay,
Not
that's
exaggerating.
one employee, right? Let's do the math. 10 G's on average. Because we're again. That's regardless if he didn't make you any money, you may or may not have made it, right? Like that's nothing's guaranteed. If you're not there working, nothing's guaranteed for the next day. Like sometimes work is pulled over, sometimes it doesn't. But realistically speaking, it costs you 10 grand. Let's imagine that 10 people from 2 different shops, 50 G's. I've known guys who've said that they dropped 40 grand on a group of guys going to training events. Loss of, including the loss of revenue, because that's at the end of the day, that's still money coming that didn't come in. It's money going out.
Yep.
So it would be cheaper to pay somebody like Fisher even 10 grand to come out, cover his expenses, rental to do a hands-on, very intimate setting at a shop, and you could split that amongst 3 shops. That's only $3,200 a piece, and you'll get probably a whole weekend with them.
Yeah. And the
So-
instructor's compensated very well.
You see what I'm saying? So that's kind of where I think that we're gonna shine next. Like I think we need to evolve to that because, again, like the economy is doing kind of wishy-washy. People don't really want to spend unless they have to, and I think unfortunately shop ownership is gonna have to do the same, or business ownership in general, right? Like we don't know, we go with the market, right? The market's saying, "Hey, man, I can't spend money that I don't have because I don't know if I'm gonna have a job tomorrow." Then you as a business owner need to prepare the same way.
Yep.
Like everybody on Facebook can say, "Oh yeah, no, it's just shop owners want to be cheap, dude." Unless you've had to decide whether you're gonna pay your guys or pay yourself, don't talk to me about business.
Yeah,
You have
no,
nothing to tell me.
it's you owners, I'll speak on that real quick, and I'm going to back up what Tommy said if that's all right. But I think too often technicians just become jaded and don't realize like there's a lot of testicular fortitude to turn on the lights every day. I mean that takes a lot every day, and the average shop owner doesn't have 4 Harleys, 2 houses, and 3 boats.
No.
We're realistic. And it is a struggle, and most repair shops are struggling. At the end of the day, we know this, we see it, we've witnessed it. They're struggling, and as much as I love the big events, I love it for the networking more than anything. I mean, that's Sean. That's where I think it was Tools you and I finally first met. Tommy, Tommy, I got to meet at Super Saturday that same year that that Brandon changed my life. I mean, I got to meet all those Trained by Tex guys, and they kind of took me under their wing and they were good to me. So, like, I don't want to discredit the big events because I think there's still some validity to it, right? But what I do think happens is, we're the class selection is getting slimmer and slimmer. And what I mean by that is like we're repeating a lot of the same classes, or the class size is just so freaking big. And which is cool for the ego. It's cool for an instructor to say, I had 500 people sitting in my room. But you've lost the intimacy, and I'm all about that. I much prefer to be in front of 5 to 20 people than I ever would 4 or 500. And I've been blessed to be able to do that. It's fun, but it's not the same. And when I worked for Sherwood, I remember Sherwood closed down and sent us all to Vision the one year. And if I remember right, and he told me it was like close to 50 grand to send everybody from both shops. That he needed to see a hell of an ROI on something like that. So it would have been more cost effective to, a situation like that, maybe just bring in an instructor or 2, or maybe plan out a year where you're bringing somebody down every 4 months.
That's what I'm saying. You get to. All right. How many times have you gone to a training event as a student, not instructors, right? All of us have been students. Is that correct? All right.
Yeah.
How many times have you been to a class and you forget to sign up for Brandon's class, and then you're just like, well, fuck. Now I got to take something that I may have not been interested in as much, or is not my strength, it's not my weakness as much as in cylinder. But you're taking it because you're paying for it, and you might as well, right? So
Yeah.
in essence, you're kind of like you're I don't want to say wasting money, but it's like
Short-changing.
yeah, exactly. You're shortchanging yourself. So why not just spend a year and be like, you know what, man? Miguel wants to learn in cylinder. Um, this gentleman wants to learn how to do parasitic draws. This guy wants to do exhaust. All right, we can have Sean, we can have Andrew, we can have Brandon, and we'll still spend less money, and I think we'll have a better training experience. And then typically, if you notice this, usually me, for example, in my textbook class, anybody who joins, I usually post my email and be like, hey, you guys ever had any questions or whatever, let me know. I will
Yep.
probably go a little bit further with them than like it was just somebody randomly on Facebook
Yep.
or whatever to give
Yep.
them a hand because they took the time to invest in themselves.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to see this shift. So, I mean, I was blessed enough, I was able to be down with Benji Burris and Chad Whitley not too long ago, and they bring in instructors. They're starting to bring in more and more guys down to their facilities to do hands-on. I got to be with Eric and Lola Schmidt. There was Weber's Car Care in Naperville. I was able to get involved with that one here not too long ago. So you're starting to see more and more facilities understanding the value of that. But I think it's going to be up to us to really push it and to make sure people know that's even available to them. Sometimes I think they don't realize it's available to them. From an instructor standpoint and also being in management running a shop, excuse me, realistically, I make more money being at the shop than I do out on the road. And at some point, Tommy knows my owner pretty well. There's going to come a point where I can't do what I've been doing. Right now I'm in a hotel room in Wisconsin, gone for 3-4 days instructing for CTI. But there comes a point where being at the shop yields me better financial gain. And I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's not about the income, but it is about the income because we do have a family we're worrying about. Most of us instructors have a family or are married or running a business or whatever the case may be. So, I definitely think there's some validity to all of it. And, I still think there's the case for the big events. Just hands down the networking. Again, I wouldn't know any of you guys if it wasn't for the networking at those big events. So I don't want to completely discredit those because I think there's some great value to it. But I also think, like Vision, I love Vision, but I think it's overwhelming. I think it got too big. Personal opinion. I think there's so much going on now that it for me it becomes almost unenjoyable because you're running around, you're trying to get to this location, that
Oh, dude, this year
location.
was absolutely terrible, man.
It was it was rough,
In that aspect, right? Like I've said it in a couple of these podcasts, but this year it was just like I've never like one of the hallmarks of Vision for me, and I've always said it. Like no matter what my thoughts were about the class selection, it was so organized. Everything ran like a well-oiled machine, and this year was an entire clusterfuck, man. Like everything was everywhere. Like shit was like in 6 different locations. They were being badge Nazis at some, and in other locations they had too many people, and it was yeah, dude. It was just an entire like it was a clusterfuck, man. I don't know what they did wrong or what happened, but yeah, it was just not organized at all.
And then you think about when these events are. I mean, a lot of the big events are scheduled right around the same time. So now you got to make a decision which one are you going to,
Yep.
and that becomes a big issue.
Yeah.
I'd much rather. I mean, I understand why they do Vision in March. It's obvious. I'm well aware. I know why a lot of the events do it in the March April time frame, but man, if I was a shop owner and trying to decide where I'm sending my people, man, I would struggle. I would struggle hardcore.
There's never a good time because people will say, "Oh, January and February." Yeah, but it's slow. It's a perfect time to send them in terms of like lost revenue for the shop, but at the same time, you may or may not have the revenue to send them, so it becomes this catch 22.
It does,
So
and
that's
you know that you
yeah.
guys know that better than anybody, But I definitely think the homegrown, when I was down it with Benji and I was down at the Schmidt's place and with Chad down there with Benji's, man, I got to be honest with you, it like sparked something, like having that small intimate setting and like really getting to know their people and getting to know like, hey, this is where I'm struggling. Can we spend a couple more minutes on this? Can we get you back to really like spend some time doing this? Like you sparked their interest. Can we dig into that more? I just think I think that's going to be the wave here in the very near future, just from a cost aspect, like you said, for the shop owners.
So, all right, I don't disagree with you guys. I've been doing some local training. I've been pushing that for sure. But let me counter it with this, just to see what you think about this. So, prior to finding like all the Facebook groups, that was really my introduction to the automotive world outside of Twin Cities, Minnesota. That's what I had done was went to local training. I go to a NAPA class or whoever CarQuest, whoever was putting it. And I mean, to be quite honest, they sucked. And it was just a reason to get away from whatever, go eat pizza and just think around for a night. And it was lame. And then I remember going to these big events for the first time and just being like completely blown away, like you say, change your life in one way or another, whether it be the people you meet or the classes that you take or the passion that you see. And so that was something really special for me. And I'm sure you guys can probably say the same thing at some point or level as well. So I definitely don't want to like say, yeah, those types of events don't have a place.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe it's more of like what could a big event like that do at this point in 2025 to maybe shift towards something that's better or more usable by the average technician.
Oh man, that's a loaded question.
It
So
is, yeah.
here's the other part, and I want to be completely transparent with this. You know, we're at a different point in our careers than a lot of others, and I don't mean that to be egotistical. That is not what I
just
mean by that. Because
just reality.
it's reality. You know, we've been blessed. We've surrounded ourselves with the best of the best. We've become friends with that best, and I think sometimes that might jade us a little bit. I think that causes a jaded mindset too. So again, I still think there's a place for those big events. That's not. I don't want anybody to misconstrue what I'm saying here. But I'm also looking at it as it's starting to get very, very expensive.
Yeah.
But if you want all this high caliber stuff, it costs money, right? I mean, if you're a consumer or client for a shop, if you're paying big dollars for a repair, you expect a certain caliber, right? So I think that's something we need to keep in mind. And I think every technician at some point in their life needs to attend a Vision or ASTA or what do we got on the West Coast? We got ATE, Sunrise, Tools, Super Saturday. I think every technician owes it to themselves to go to one of those events at least a few times in their career. But I do think there becomes a point where I don't want to say you outgrow it, but I think you kind of outgrow it and you're looking for something more. And then, the feedback we get as an instructor is I'm constantly told, I want hands on, I want hands on, I want hands on. And I don't think most people realize what hands-on involves. I mean, that's a very small, intimate setting. I won't do hands-on with anything over 8 or 10 people.
Yeah.
Um,
That's a
now,
whole nother animal
it's a
compared
whole
to
nother
making a
animal.
class.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and as a high school instructor, I taught 30 kids at a pop, man, and that was too much. 30
Yep.
kids in one class is too much. Now, even with a professional setting, to really give them the best benefit for what they have. I mean, 8 to 10, maybe 12. You can get a couple more if you have a second instructor with you, but think of the costs associated with that. Now, there's two ways to look at it. One, it's super expensive, right? But you get a much more intimate setting, and now you get to fine tune what it is you're trying to get better at. So I truly think both go hand in hand, right? So, I don't want anybody from my perspective to think this is a knock at the big events because again, I think there's a place for them. I just think there comes a point where maybe we get a little jaded because I mean, you got to figure, I think this year I've been at 8 events, if not a couple more. So you definitely do get a little bit of the jaded. Oh man, it's the same old thing. Here we go again. Here we go again. And I've seen some of the same technicians at these things over and over and over again. So
Yeah.
I do think after a while, maybe from a consumer slash student standpoint, they get jaded by it because it's all the same thing. So I think we have to find a way to offer them something a little bit different. Um, in my opinion, it becomes a little bit better because it's more tailor fit, but it costs, and if the some of the events continue to push back against the instructors that are asking not to be sponsored and to get paid for their class that they spent countless hours developing, you're going to lose some talent at these, and
Hmm.
that's the hardcore reality of it. And I hope people are really, doing an inner look at it. You know, Kevin Roth, as I know you know now, Sean. Kevin Roth told me when I came on with TechFix, like, hey man, you got to understand this is for the outcome, not for the income, and I don't disagree, and I've never disagreed with him, and I do a ton of stuff for those guys that I wouldn't do for anybody else because I believe in the vision. But it's still not cheap. I mean, they pay us decently for what we do, but there's got to be ROI. If you're writing an 8 hour event and you're going to be on a stage for 8 hours for a company, I mean, in my opinion, it's a minimum of 10 hours for every hour you teach. That's kind of the gold standard that I've had for writing a class. And you figure if you're writing an 8 hour class, you're 80 hours minimum, and that's a minimum. So there's got to be some return on it. So you got to do a few things. You either got to sell that class numerous times sponsored, and the reality is, you guys know classes have a shelf life. I figure I can usually run a class 12 to 18 months max. And usually by month 8, you're starting to hear guys go, hey man, this one's been offered here already. So I think sometimes people forget about the business end of what we do. Because it's fun. Don't get me wrong. I really like writing classes. I like doing the research, but you're getting me at a premium. And what I mean by that is I took family time. Tommy took family time. You took family time. All the others have taken time away from other things to try to give the best product that they can give. And then you get people beating them up that they want it at a discount. How's that any different than you owning a shop and you get a client coming off of the street going, "Hey, I want you to do it cheaper." It's the same
Hmm.
concept, and
Sure.
sometimes I think from a student aspect, like I never realized any of this stuff. I remember getting class invites and they're $300-400 and going, holy crap. Um, Thinking about it today, man, that was a deal. When you
Sure.
think about it. So it's a double-edged sword. There's so much more to it that I don't think we talk about enough. And I hope to see some changes. But at the same time, if we're saying, hey, like the pay's got to follow, we've also got to back it up with quality content.
Oh,
100%.
100%.
We can't be taking stuff off of a tool manufacturer's website and touting as our own. We can't regurgitate what somebody else wrote and just make it our own words. Like we've got to actually put forth some effort into what we're doing. And far too often, I hear that from a lot of students. Like they'll tell me, I sat through this class and it just felt like it was a sales pitch or it was regurgitated.
Reading service information.
Yeah. So, oh my God, those are the ones that drive me the most crazy. You're literally going to sell a class on service information. Get the F out of here.
Yeah.
I can read that. Now, some people like that. So, I mean, that's the other side of it. Like, just because I don't like it doesn't mean somebody else does it. But, there's just a lot of that. If we're gonna say we're worth something, we gotta be able to back that up, and we gotta be able to back it up quickly and give quality content. And
So you
you
got
know,
my business mind. The gears are turning here. Okay, so you have some classes. You're potentially offering to do this in-person training tailored to a shop. Hey, this is what we train on. You come out, you do this with our technicians or a couple shops, right? So how does one market that? How do you get connected with the shop in Nebraska that really wants you to come out and do this 2 day training? What does that look like?
So I'm blessed in the regard that I teach for all these other companies, right? I get to
Mhm.
instruct. So I get a lot of times where guys are like, hey, my guy sat in your CTI class. They really like the way you present. Would you be willing to come in house and give your own spin on things? With being with TechFix, I get a lot of the TechFix slash ShopFix shops reaching out, going, "Hey, can I get you to fly out here and really work with us?" So, I mean, for me, the marketing is already there because I'm doing stuff with so many people. Um, so this is that double-edged sword we kind of talked about. So you've got to get your name out there, and
Yeah.
the only way you're getting your name out there is doing big events or getting involved with the company. And you got to play that fine line. Like I would never do anything that would jeopardize CTI or WorldPack, or I would never jeopardize TechFix. So like, you got to be really careful from an ethical standpoint too. I've had shops in the past. They're like, hey, we don't want to use whatever abbreviated training group you're with in this particular instance. We want to bring you in by yourself and then cut out the middleman. I don't do that. I'm not going to do that. If that's the way they approach it, I got some ethics there. That's not going to happen. But, a lot of it, social media has changed the game, as you guys know. People are
Yeah.
getting to know who you are. Or, I know Hawken gets people reaching out all the time because everybody knows he's the VW Audi guru. So I think social media has been huge. I've talked to Brandon in depth about this. Brandon is just his namesake. Everybody knows who Brandon is. Um, so I don't know how to market it outside of that, other than just showing up, or fortunately or unfortunately, you still gotta go to these big events because that's how people are going to get to know you. But if you're a shop owner and you're really wanting to get tailored training, what I would recommend to anybody is reach out to those instructors you like, because most of them can offer something along those lines. And maybe there's an instructor that really impacts or inspires your group of guys. Then you need to reach out to them. Maybe they saw you teach something, Sean, and they were really impacted, or thought, man, this guy like really knew what he was talking about in this particular area. You need to reach out to him. If I wanted to learn programming, I'm calling Tommy. For me,
Hmm.
Tommy's the expert. If I need VW Audi, I'm bringing in Hawken. So it's seeking out who would be the expert in what it is you're trying to get your crew the best with.
Yeah, I totally 100% agree with that, man. I think also each shop has a little bit of responsibility to themselves in terms of like
Absolutely.
where our weaknesses are and where can we fill those gaps? What do my guys want to learn? What would help us? And for me, the double-edged sword is because I teach programming, right? So let's just say, for example, if Sean decides, you know what, I'm gonna set up a mini training camp, training event, and I'm gonna sell some seats at a shop, right? He ain't gonna hire me. I'm the last person he's gonna want to see in his area because that's what he does, right? And that's because that's the first thing, especially since I'm bilingual. I get a lot of guys. Oh, I want you to come out to the East Coast and teach. What do you teach again? Programming. Oh, I don't want you to teach that. I just want you to help me for free, but I don't want to pay you for doing anything. Oh, okay. Thanks a lot, asshole. But you see what I'm saying? So it's like that's my double-edged sword is that my opportunities for that type of training are kind of like, it's just like again, there's ethical lines there, right? Like I wouldn't teach programming, or if I have to really like somebody to not go into their area to do it. But everybody else can suck it. I don't care. Like, but like but that's the thing, right? Like it's really difficult because it's like you can't have somebody step on your toes, man. And I understand it because I probably wouldn't be super happy somebody's teaching programming or something that I did in my area. But at this point, I don't give a shit. There's a lot of stuff that I can do that I keep myself above the curve. So, but yeah, that's my cross to carry, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean it's a tough thing too. I've been reached out by other shops in areas where I know great instructors live, and I'm like, hey, you know what? I think it'd probably be less or more affordable if you reach out to. I'll use Adam Robertson. I mean, I turn him on to shops on the West Coast all the time.
No, for sure.
Because I think he would be better suited for what they're looking for. Or, East Coast, I'm usually saying, hey, call Brandon. Brandon, if you're watching, I'm still waiting for my royalties, bro. But joking.
I
But
hosted
like,
I hosted his first shop class.
You did, dude, and I paid for that, and I didn't show up because I had a family thing come up, man.
Sucker.
I know, dude. Now it's gonna cost us $1 million to bring his ass back out here.
I asked him the other day. I'm just like, okay, that's what you charge. Well, how much you gonna charge me?
Double,
Yep.
double. You get that friend and family discount.
Uh-huh.
No, I mean it. I don't think there's a one size fits all. I don't think there's a
No.
one answer to fix this. But I do think that people need to be aware that those opportunities exist for your shops, and there's many instructors that are willing to do stuff like that. Or don't be afraid. Maybe you've got that technician in your shop that can help grow the rest of the team too. That's another option, right? Maybe you've got that superstar tech, and maybe they've got the ambition to instruct at some point. Help build them up. Invite other shops to come listen to them do an engagement for a couple hours. Rising tide rises all ships, right? So I mean, there's so many different ways we can go about this, and I just hope shop owners, technicians, and people understand how important training is. I hear the conversation a lot in the background. People say you can overtrain. I disagree. If you've got a good technician that understands the limitations of what they're being taught and how they can apply it, I don't think there's a such thing as overtraining because I don't think you
Mm,
can ever have too much information. Now, could you get to the point that you're going down rabbit holes because you're trying to learn a new technique? Yes, absolutely. And that becomes the technician's responsibility to understand they've got to you're not going to sit in a class and become the expert. And I hope technicians realize that because that was a hard reality for me for a lot of years. Um, I've sat in more of JT's mechanical conditioning classes than I care to admit, and I would get so frustrated because I'm like, I still can't frickin' do this. And there was no accountability on my end that, hey, dumbass, you need to go out there and actually practice. Practice is training, guys. Like I hope technicians that are listening to this realize like you have got to put in the time um, to learn these techniques or the stuff that you were taught in a class, and not just learning on a client's vehicle and then costing them a boatload of money. Like you have got to put in the work. Um, and that's a tough conversation for a lot of technicians. I know, early on when I had a ego the size of this room I'm sitting in, I was that guy. And it took me a long time to get humbled, and thankfully I did. And I realized like I'm never going to get the outcome because I'm not putting forth any effort. So that's the other side of the coin. You've got to understand like you're being coached. That's really when you're sitting in a classroom, you're being coached, but the rest is up to you to go and put forth the practice and fine tune those skills.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not putting it into practice, you'll never figure out the nuances of real life and that, hey, this technique's really cool, but it's not always what you think it is, or it's not always what that really cool case study was in that one class. And like, hey, it might work in some situations, but there's going to be a whole lot of, oh, it's not quite that exactly what I think it is, or it's not really telling me that
Yeah.
same thing, or I can't decipher that same piece of information on this car, this situation as he did in that class. You're never gonna know that unless you try. And I've found plenty of that too, where I'm just like, this is freaking technique. I am all of these misfires now. Oh, wait, nope, it doesn't work on this car in that
Yep.
situation. And what about this? And oh, this car's just a giant pile of garbage. Well, it's useless then. And so, yeah, you're never gonna find that out if you don't practice, though.
Yeah, I mean, I, I use this in one of my classes, but I'm a sports guy. I think of Ellen Iverson. Practice? We talk about practice, but it's what it takes,
Yep, yep,
and again, I think some of us we go to these classes. So early on in my career, I'd go to the classes for the case studies because I felt every car that I got had was a silver bullet case study, or it was going to be this oh my gosh crazy ass problem that nobody could figure out. And the
yep.
realities is those are few and far between.
They sure are.
It's usually a foundational issue that we've overlooked, and yeah, that one-off case study that guy has is pretty interesting. But what I want anybody listening to this class to think about, because I've got one or two one-offs in a few of my classes that I'll probably never run into again.
Yep,
Um, but it wasn't the case study that the instructor was trying to get you to focus on. It was the technique. And that is the part that took me a long time to understand. And, if you're listening to this and you're a young tech, or even if you're a seasoned tech just trying to get better, I want you to understand most instructors are not putting that crazy stuff in there for an ego boost to themselves. That's not what it's about. It's really to help you.
Some of them might be, but
Some might, and I don't. It's a good possibility, but I can assure you, for me at least, if you see this crazy ass case study, it's in there because the technique that I used or the thought process behind it is what drove it.
yeah.
It's not up there. I'm not going to sit up there being all silverback gorilla pounding my chest saying I'm the only one that could figure out. That is not the case, especially if you sit in one of mine, because usually I'm making fun of myself, telling you what kind of dumbass I was and all the mistakes I made leading up to it, because that's the stuff I feel. I write a class and I instruct the way I needed to be instructed too. And as much as I love JT, I struggled for 20 years sitting in his classes because I would sit there going, how the does this dude just get it? And then when you actually talk to him and you get to understand, like, man, he made a lot of mistakes too, and that's what got him there. So I always felt that there was a little bit of disconnect with a lot of instructors where they weren't. And I'm not saying this is his case. Please don't take it that way. But I think there was a lot of disconnect where we just assumed that they were walking on water and didn't make the mistakes. So for me, it's all about sharing the, oh crap, I made a boo boo. This just cost Andy $700. you know,
Right.
that for me, that's what it's about. Like that is the part of class I love teaching. That's the whole reason I do it. Because again, I think for me, it sets the stage that, hey, you guys in the class are me. Like I am not any better or anything above you. That is not why I'm here. I've just been blessed enough that I like to talk way too much, and I want to share with you guys the way I approach a situation. And let's talk a little bit of theory, a little bit of operation, and then we're going to put it into practice. But before I do that, let me show you how you can make some pretty big mistakes first by being ignorant. So, again, I just hope anybody listening, like, you're gonna take your bumps along the way. You're gonna make a lot of mistakes when you start doing a new technique or new car line, or maybe you moved in a different direction in the shop and now you're working on stuff or things you never did before. You're going to make mistakes. It's gonna happen. I don't care who you are, and just be comfortable being uncomfortable, and be comfortable, and hopefully you work for a good enough boss that they're understanding that you're trying to progress and you're trying to get better, and failure is part of that.
I will say this. I don't like some. So, touched on this before, and to make your point, I agree. But I also do feel that shops can some it's like it's like there doesn't seem to be like a middle ground in this industry, right? Like for example, just take me and you. I'm more of a pessimist. You're more of an optimist, right? Like, there's always like this yin yang effect, right? And I noticed something recently after these last few years, that a lot of shop owners are on the bandwagon that train, 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 train. Oh, if you don't train, I'm gonna fire you. And there's some owners who have employees who want to go to training and will put in their own time to train, and they just don't want to help them. And one of my things is, I think it has to be a case by case basis, man. We every shop needs somebody who just wants to bang out suspension work. And I had so much conversations with people at my last event with a lot of shop owners like, how do I get my guys to train? La la la. I'm like, I dude, either they want to or they don't. Like
Yeah.
it depends on your shop culture too, man. Like, if you want him to train and he doesn't want to, then maybe he's not the right fit for you, dude. But I just don't. I just feel like everybody has a time and their place, man. Like there's people who just like, man, I have no interest in diagnostics, electronics, none of that. I just want to slang ball joints and transmissions all day long.
There's
Perfect.
there's nothing wrong in that, and I
Yeah,
hope
smart.
people. I hope. I hope. Well, it's a different skill set too, and I hope people out there don't. Especially technicians. I hope they're not out there going, well, if I don't do what this guy does, I'm not good. Guys,
Yeah.
I don't believe in alphabet soup. I don't believe in that A B C B S that so many shops tout.
I hate that
I'm a
terminology
big
too.
believer they're specialists, And just because you're the suspension specialist doesn't make you any less valuable than your diagnostic specialist.
I,
And
I, pro-
I think we need to stop thinking that way.
I
You know, I
promise you,
hear
those guys make the shop the most money,
they do absolutely
guaranteed.
from a shop standpoint,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, you guys know
So
the
why,
numbers.
so
You're
why push them so hard into something they don't want to do? Just for what? So you can say you send your guys to training, but if they
um
don't care, then what's the point? At least
you know
from my standpoint.
the other part of that is maybe you've got that guy that's been doing it for 30 years and now his body's starting to fail him. So I mean, there's that double-edged sword, right? So maybe you've got that technician that has been just the best production tech you ever had. He's knocking out 60, 70 hours a week for you, but his body's getting beat up, and you realize the writing is on the wall. So maybe you've got to be the one to push him to get uncomfortable. So that's one way to look at it. But I do think you get some shops that it's all about clout stating or shop owners stating, "Oh, I sent all my guys to training." Well, why the hell are you sending your suspension specialist to advanced picoscope diagnostics?
I,
Okay,
I'm telling you,
that's
man. I see
you
that
got to
shit.
be careful.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. That's why I say I think it's a primarily a case by case basis, but a lot of the times I got this at the TechFix conference. I got that a lot. Like, oh, can you help me and la la la. And I'm just like, dude, if they don't want to, man, you can't make them because they're just not gonna learn anything, and then you're just wasting your money, dude. Like, have a conversation with what they want to do, and then build it around that.
Yeah, I mean, it's training paths, right? That's
Yeah.
that's what we need to be paying attention to.
What
Just
if they want a
because,
better tool, dude?
yeah,
What if they want a new, like ball joint press
absolutely.
or a new press? You're gonna spend the same amount of money. You might as well just do that.
Yeah, or a new alignment machine, or
Yeah,
if
exactly.
he's your suspension specialist, I still think there's training involved because we got ADAS and whatnot, and that is stuff they're going to encounter. So I think they have to have a basic understanding of what they're
Oh, for
dealing
sure.
with. But I'm not going to spend the money on that particular guy sending him to advanced training, right? I'm probably not sending him to can diagnostics or again pressure in cylinder pressure analysis. Like I'm not going to do that. One, that's not his skill set or her skill set, I should say. So we do from management and ownership side, we need to be very in tune with what they need and like what their weaknesses are.
Yeah,
But we
agreed.
also need to be in tune that this dude's never going to be my drivability specialist, and that there is nothing wrong in that. There is nothing wrong in that. Maybe the only thing they're ever going to do is hang and bang brakes for me all day long. He's probably making the most amount of money for me in the shop. I'm making the best net off of that tech, so
Yeah.
I'm going to send him to the couple brake classes they offer a year or every couple years. I still think there's a case for training in some aspect, but I don't have to send him, you know every month, or I'm not requiring him to do 10 hours minimum a month of training or four, or whatever the case may be that you have in your shop as a requirement. But,
Yeah.
it's all about tailoring the training to what the tech needs. I mean, you in a management position or you in a ownership position is going to have a better idea of what type of help that technician needs just off of their comebacks, and
Yep.
you,
Yeah.
you you need to be in tune with it. So if you got a guy that's constantly having electrical comebacks, and it's all foundational stuff, sorry about your luck, dude. I know you really want to take this in cylinder class, but I'm going to send you through some foundational classes initially because you're having some serious comebacks on those. We need to fix it. So it all boils down to yet again having those. You got to be comfortable having uncomfortable conversations if you're an owner or in management. And you got to be able to do that as well from a technician standpoint and be able to advocate for yourself.
Yeah.
So, I'm never going to be the guy that stands up here and says every technician needs to do 1 million hours a year in training. While I do have a requirement in my shop of 40 hours a year, Tommy's heard my spiel. We all employ that one guy that hangs out in the bathroom. If you're in the bathroom watching Scanner Danner or whoever, um, talking about something bare basic, wash your damn hands, come tell me what you watch, and I'm gonna count that towards your training for the year. Maybe you watch something on alignment angles or geometry, dude. I'm gonna count that for you. Like, there's definitely different ways of going about this if we're willing to think outside the box.
Yeah. And play to people's strengths, right? Figure out each one of your employees probably gets drawn towards something. If you have a hammer, use it as a freaking hammer. Don't use it as a voltmeter, right? Like
Yeah.
it's I get like yeah, you should make some people like push outside of your comfort zone, maybe learn some new things. But man, if they're interested in something and they're good at something, lean into that. And I mean, obviously you got to find the right people to get everything done in a whole shop. But we have that even within our company. Some people really just don't enjoy doing certain things. So, okay, maybe here and there you might have to help out, but I'm not going to push you into it. What are you good at? What do you like doing? Okay, let's do more of that. Right. And it's only going to be good because they're actually going to want to do it or at least not hate it at the very least, or maybe want to learn about it a little bit. And uh, I don't know. I just figured like don't push against the resistance too much.
Yeah.
That's my opinion, anyways.
And I agree. I agree with all that a million percent. And that's hard for me from an instructor standpoint. Especially one that likes to teach. Like I'm full transparency. I hate when I get sent to a suspension or brake class that I got to teach, and there's nothing against that stuff. It's just not
Yeah.
my. It's
No,
not my passion, right?
same
But
here.
it.
Alignments, I hated alignments when I was at Firestone. Boring.
Same, but I have no issue with the instructor that shines in that or the technician that shines in that. Because I'm gonna be honest, when I sit in some of those classes, I'm like, holy crap, I never knew that, and I've taught
Yeah,
some of this stuff before, and um,
there's so much to like an alignment. There's so much to it to
yes,
be like you're going to be really, really dialed on it. There's so much to it.
yep,
And yeah, it takes a lot and a lot of intelligence, but you can make a lot of money
yep,
at
and
it
you
too.
you
So
You mean to tell me that that guy should earn less than my diagnostician?
no
So
way.
that's a whole other conversation I could spend 6 hours on.
Yeah,
But we can't. We got to be careful not to just glorify a single specialty in the shop. I mean, there's cases for every person in every
yep.
aspect, bumper to bumper, that we may employ inside our shop, or maybe we're just a specialty shop. That's fine
It
too. I
doesn't
got
matter if your CAN bus network communicates if your brakes don't work. Like,
abs.
it's
And
like
yeah, and what do they want to fix? They need to be able to.
yeah,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, I've got a few clients that'll Flintstone that car, but you know what I mean, man. I
yeah,
I, I
yeah.
agree, and we got to be careful. We don't. I think sometimes we push so hard we've driven people out of this business because of it. It's a fine line.
Well,
Let's just go
gentlemen,
make some tacos, man.
You haven't ate yet?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh,
Yeah, I
dude,
came straight here, dude.
I'm in Wisconsin, so of course I got grilled cheese, but I got grilled cheese with burnt ends.
Nice.
Dude, that was amazing. Like I'm channeling that 10 pounds I lost is gonna
One
come
of one of
back.
the best meals I had. Anybody familiar with Door County?
Mm-mm.
Door County, like you know how Wisconsin looks like a little mitten.
Yeah.
So Door County is like right passing Sturgeon Bay, the little mitten part, like
Okay.
the thumb part of the mitten.
The thumb.
Yep. So like at the end of it, it's Door County. Awesome, amazing time, amazing little town. No franchises, no nothing, and there's an island on Lake Michigan called Washington Island. It's like a 30-minute ferry ride, and so we go there and we hire this tour guide, right, dude? It was wow. That guy was just hilarious, and he takes us to his favorite little restaurant, dude. We had a Wisconsin burger, right? It was a fresh beef patty and a brat patty, a Wisconsin brat patty with cheese curds and a whole bunch of other stuff on. Oh, dude.
oh,
Oh, that's
put you right to bed.
You
oh
ever
man, that
notice
was
every
great.
time you talk to Tommy, he just makes you hungry?
Yeah, cause I'm
Every
fat.
freaking time, man. I can't knock it though. Tommy's my Bucky's buddy. When we
Hell
go
yeah, dude.
go down to
Like
Tennessee together, it's we always gotta stop at Bucky's on our way down and our
man,
way
it's
back
just
up.
my thing is I'm just very adventurous, man. Like I really don't care. I didn't realize how picky Hawking was, dude. He's like one step ahead of PJ. I was like, dude,
Oh,
you're weird.
dude, it killed me not being there this weekend, man. I wanted to come see you guys. Hopefully life settles down here
Well,
soon. And
we're doing something in probably like August, man, here at the house with everybody. Supposedly Mike, Corey. I'll see if Hakan wants to get his punk ass to come down. I doubt it, but
get Sean on an airplane
You
to
know,
come
you know
down.
he lives farther away than I do from you.
really, Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
His thing's like an hour north from
Yeah.
Minneapolis, right?
I didn't get any invite.
He was here
Milwaukee.
for Milwaukee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is
Nice.
crazy because the dude had just driven through here the week or two before because he stopped by me on his way home. I took him out. I took him to a steakhouse, man. Took him to a steakhouse and he orders freaking barbecued chicken. I'm like, I take my wife with us because my wife had never met Hawkins, so I'm like, hey, I need you to. I talk to him, a couple times a week. She always gets mad because I'm on the phone all the time. I'm like, hey, you need to finally meet Hawkins, So my fat ass gets the biggest prime that you can get. My wife gets a fillet, and then Hawkins orders freaking barbecue chicken. I was like, dude, you got to be kidding me! I bring you to the nicest steakhouse in the area. It'd be like taking PJ out to get dinner, man. He would have ordered some chicken nuggies there too,
Nuggies or a well burnt steak. That guy eats the steak.
Dude,
he orders a steak medium well done with ketchup.
my wife does it. My wife does that, so she'll go to a steakhouse, and I have to apologize every time. Like, listen, she's gonna ask for A1, and I'll give her crap. I'll be like, a cow gave up its life. It didn't give up its life for you to eat it well done. Okay, you can't do that crap. Every time, man. Every steakhouse we go to, well done, and then she needs the A1, and it just, dude, it boils my freaking blood.
What a waste of meat, man.
I need that thing still mooing, dude.
When we were in Tucson, PJ was down there, and we went out to eat the nights that we were there, and each time he would get a kids menu delivered to him from Isaac.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
He'd have the waiter bring over one for him.
Dude,
Great.
I'm not picky at all, man. We were too broke and poor growing up. I didn't get to eat a whole lot of crazy stuff until now.
The fucked up part, dude. I've experienced my first restaurant when I was like 14, 15 years old, dude. We grew up dirt poor eating from Aldi's and shit. And so, like, when I was like, bro, like, what type of fucking upbringing did you have? He's like, I grew up poor. I'm like, well, fuck, motherfucker, so did I. Like,
they didn't grow up Chicago poor though, bro. That Chicago poor is a different. I was far south burbs, so I was far south side, and man, we didn't have anything. My brother was so sick when we were kids that all the money went to keeping him alive. So we didn't get to experience some of the cool stuff. I didn't get to like really try food until I was out of the house, and once that happened, the inner fat boy came out, man. I'll try anything.
Yeah, I'll try anything once, dude. I don't give a shit what it is, man. It could be fucking fried raccoon assholes, dude. I don't care. I'll try it.
If you tell me it's good, I'm gonna give it a shot. I mean, I might get sick from it later, but I'm gonna have an experience.
Yeah. No, like I try everything once. That's like my rule in life. I try everything once, except for weird stuff.
You just said you're gonna eat
Mexico.
What'd you say about Mexico?
They had crickets down there.
Yeah, chapulines. Yeah, I can't do insects, homie. Yep. I draw the line.
You've already tried it though, right? Well, Sean, you've had it, right?
Yeah. You put in a little guac. It's not that bad.
Yeah, my one of my employees was from Puebla, and yeah, his mom used to send them like the best mole ever, and then she sent him like a bag of chapulines, and he'd just be like eating them with a hot sauce or just like that. I'm just like,
yeah, but don't you guys eat everything with hot sauce, man? I think
what's
my
you guys,
kid,
man? I don't like that shit.
Dude, I think my kid might have some brown in him somewhere, dude. That kid eats some of the craziest freaking hot sauce. Like, I tell him all the time, I'm like, bro, your stomach is gonna be jacked up, dude.
Yeah, I can't do spicy at all, dude. Like I can
do
a little bit of spice, just like I just don't. I like tasting my food, not the spiciness, and that's usually my issue with salsas. I love a good tasting salsa, like a good authentic one, just not too spicy.
Oh, that's right. You don't like that fake Mexican food, ain't it?
No. There's a smell that we really can't tolerate, man, and it's not just me. So yeah,
I wanted to get him on this rant intentionally. Keep going.
I don't know what it is. Nah, man, I'm gonna bow out of this one because I'm gonna ruffle some feathers talking about that raggedy ass Tex-Mex.
Sean, if you've never heard his Tex-Mex story, you've got to get him to tell you the Tex-Mex story, dude. It's great.
I'll say it, man. I just didn't want it to get out in the open. I was somewhere. I'm not gonna say where, but I was with a buddy who I'm not gonna say who, so that way nobody can put two and two together. But we're like, The group decided they wanted to go to one of those chain Tex-Mex joints, and I'm telling my homie like, bruh, I'm walking to Burger King, dude. Like, there's a Burger King in like the little lot. I'm like, dude, we gotta go there. He's like, no, man, we can't be rude. We gotta hang out with the guys and la la la. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you this right now, bro. I'm not gonna be able to eat this bullshit, man. Like, I just, it's not happening. He's like, dude, come on, man, don't leave me here. But I'm like, well, but you go then, man. I'm gonna go by myself. He's like, come on. All right, man, fine. He's like, I'll find something like maybe some French fries or something, right? So I go in there, right? And we both order the most non-Tex-Mex thing on the menu, right? And the thing is, it's the enchilada sauce. There's a spice in it. I don't know what it is, but if you like eat traditional Mexican food, that it makes you gag. Like, I don't know what it is. I can't explain it. I don't know what it is. And so I'm looking at him, and he ordered like, I think, a chicken breast or something, and then I think I ordered like some dish. I forgot what it was, but it didn't seem to be like a typical Mexican dish. Bro, tell us why both of our plates come drenched with this enchilada sauce, dude. Like I'm looking at him. I'm like, I take one bite out of this. I'm like, dude, I can't. And he's looking at me. He's like,
It's because a white guy made it, bro.
yeah.
They insulted you with the white man Mexican
No,
food.
it has nothing to do with that, man. Because there's some Tex-Mex spots here, dude, that people like going to, man. And I went to one of them, and it was the same shit. There's just a spice in that red enchilada sauce that I can't. And you smell it in the air. And dude, I ended up saying, you know what? Like, I ended up eating as much as I humanly possibly could. And then I'm like, oh man, dude, my stomach hurts. I'll eat it later. And I went straight to chuck it to the garbage somewhere else, man. And I went straight to Wendy's that night. He's like, dude, I can't eat this shit. He's like, damn it. He's like, I should have went to Burger King. I told your ass.
That says a lot, because don't you hate Burger King?
When I used to eat fast food, Burger King was actually one of my favorite spots.
Oh, okay.
Because in Humboldt Park, the area I grew up in, there was a Burger King that used to sell dollar Whoppers. So I was in high school, I used to drive to Humboldt Park to go get 5 Whoppers for $5 and then drive back to school.
Cal City used to do that, dude. We used to have that in Cal City.
There was like at least 6 or 7 Burger Kings in the area that used to do 99-cent Whoppers. Dude, it was the shit, limit 5. But then you go to cheese, it was 50 cents. I was like, shit, I'm gonna go home and put me some Kraft singles on this motherfucker.
It wasn't Kraft singles, dude. You had the government cheese. You had to cut the government cheese up.
Hey man, that government cheese was pretty straight, man.
It was.
Did you ever have the government canned pulled pork?
Yes, sir.
Dude, we used to make tacos out of that shit.
Yep. Absolutely, dude. I'm not too proud to admit it, man. Like,
I don't know. That was some good ass tacos. Dude, you used to put it in a skillet, warm up some tortillas, and then throw some shredded cheese on them. Go to town.
Dude, I come from a Polish family, dude. On my mom's side, so they'd make something out of nothing, dude.
Yo. I said it in one of these podcasts, though, one with Pedro, dude. So I grew up in Belmont. Like, the shop was in Humboldt Park, but my school was in Belmont Cragen. Belmont Cragen was primarily Polish. Yo, man, it was awesome, dude. We just walked down Fullerton, and there was a couple, like, those Polish delis, dude. We would just run in there, and then we would buy, I would buy a chili willy and a piece of wedding sausage, bro. It was the shit. I love growing up there, man. I used to know a couple words in Polish, too. Man, it was just so, it's such a, that was one of the good things about growing up in Chicago, man. The diversity, getting to know other people's cultures, the good, the bad.
Yep.
And I think my battery died.
Cal City was that way, man. It was all us Polacks and then Italians. Yeah, we had the good food, dude. So now I'm spoiled. Like, I like eating mom and pop joints. I'm not big on chain stores.
Me neither, dude.
But I'm so like picky and opinionated about it because of it, man. Like, when I was in Georgia, dude, it sucked because people ask me all the time, what do you miss the most about being in the Chicago area?
Food.
And I tell them the food. Nobody comes close to the food.
I will say this, the only other food spot in the country that I enjoy is New Orleans.
So I've never been there, so I can't.
But not so much for like they don't have a diversity of food, but the eclectic things that they do, phenomenal. I love it.
Now you got me hungry, dude. And I literally ate before I came on. Now I'm like
I'm
gonna be looking.
starving, dude.
I'm gonna be looking at my
I'm
DoorDash
and
here in a
the
minute
sad
because I'm.
part is I already started my fast. I really don't eat after 6, dude. So I'm screwed till tomorrow.
I still got to prep for tomorrow's class. So I'll be chilling. Then tomorrow night I got to teach an online. Well, I'm co-hosting an evening class, and then Thursday I'm teaching our turbo class for the first time.
Oh,
And I feel
nice.
I feel so unprepared, but like I've been prepping for that thing for months. Like it's crazy, dude.
It'll be
No, that's
fun.
awesome, man.
That's a good time up here. I just the traveling's it's starting to wear me down a little bit. I don't know how
Well, next
Rich does it.
next time I'm down that way, I'm gonna hit you guys up. How far south of Chicago are you?
I could be at Tommy's place, like in his area, in what, about an hour?
Yeah, roughly.
If traffic's good, I can be in Tommy's area in
Wow.
about an hour. And then Pedro's, seriously, like from my shop to Pedro's place is like 15-ish minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay.
like
Yeah,
we're all pretty close.
we're relatively close, man. And yeah, so I really want to do like I don't know if it's gonna be a play date or not. I really just wanted to have people just hang out at the house, just hang out in the patio and stuff, relax, smoke cigars. Um,
I'm there, dude. I'll bring the cigars, dude. Like it killed me not seeing Hocken and you this weekend. Just everything that I don't know if Tommy shared it with you. I'm just dealing with some. My dad was basically sent home. They told us to make him comfortable, and then he had an episode this
sucks, man.
weekend. Mom had an episode, so it just freaking spiraled real quick on me, dude.
Yeah, it's always like it's that extreme sense of I don't know. Like
Yes.
you don't want to see people suffering, but you don't want to see them go. Uh it's such a like when my dad was alive, man, like he only wanted me to go with him to the hospital and oh, it was so hard, man. I had issues at the shop. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. Still don't, but I really didn't know back then what the hell I was doing in terms of running a shop. I would have to take off in the middle of the day to go pick up my dad home, take him downtown Chicago, take him back home, go back to work. I had to work late, get up, rinse, repeat, broke, and part of me at the time was like, man, dude, I hate this. I hate this. It's almost easier if he wasn't here, right? Like, you get into these moments where you're just
Yep.
like, to a point a bit selfish, right? Because everything is just like you get overwhelmed with everything falling on you. I never said anything or I never wavered. Like I always said, you know what, man, I always just double down on the fact that one day I'm gonna be like, dude, I'd fucking trade everything to take him to the hospital one more time. And,
Yeah.
and lo and behold, man, 5 years later, I'm right here. So yeah, I would give anything out to just, hear him, talk to him, but it's, in retrospect as well, it was just time for him to go, man. It was just the
Yeah.
quality of life was in the toilet, man.
Yeah. It's tough. I mean, Sean, do you have both of your parents? I don't know your.
Yeah. Yep.
So I was explaining this to somebody the other day. I'm probably gonna get a little emotional here. Um, you, were you guys into comic books as kids?
Yeah,
Oh,
I
sure.
couldn't afford
So,
them, but
well, we had a comic book store on Burnham Avenue. I'd just go read them there. But I remember reading The Death of Superman, right? And as a son, so I'm the second oldest. So as a son, it's literally watching Superman die. So, in transparency here, my dad was a big dude. So my dad's a little shorter than me. I'm 6 foot. I think he was like 5'10". But he was about 280 most of my life growing up, but he wore it all in his gut. But he was, and I know every son says this about their father, but he was the strongest man I ever met in my life. Like this dude, I would watch him grab the 5-gallon paint buckets. He would grab 3 of those in each hand and walk them upstairs to go paint apartment complexes and not break a freaking sweat, dude. I mean, this dude was just massive fucking muscle. Um, and through the last couple years with the lung cancer and the bladder cancer and then every other freaking thing he has, the dude's smaller than me now. And it's literally the best way to describe it to somebody is you're watching Superman die and not knowing like I mean I'm at peace. Me and him are at peace. We're in a good place. Like if he goes tonight, I know where we stood. But it's the hardest thing to just sit there and watch. And I know Tommy, you went through this, and there's really no words to describe it. You never have, people people that have been through there know it. Like, Tommy sent me a message, hey man, I'm here for you. Like, he knows there's not much more you can say, Um, but you can always tell when people been through it just by the way they check in on you. And if you've never been through it, it's like the hardest thing to describe. Like, I couldn't have described what this feeling's like to anybody probably about a year ago is when it all started, And dude, it's been a whirlwind, where you're like, hey, are you cool if I go out of town? Like, is mom gonna be okay if something happens? Um, to the point where he's like, hey, get your ass out of town because if I go, there ain't fucking thing you can do for me. And being at peace with that. I mean, I still feel guilty. Like coming up here to Wisconsin on Monday, I was like feeling guilty because this weekend was rough. It was rough, and it's just it's so hard to put into words.
It's never gonna
Sorry.
be easy.
But back up what you said. It sounds selfish, but I kind of just want him to go so he doesn't have to fucking suffer anymore. Because but his stubborn ass, he's a cigarette smoker still. I mean, he's got half of his lung removed. Most of his issues is because the fucker can't give it up, But realistically, at this point, if he quit tomorrow, it's not preventing anything,
Nah.
So everybody's like, oh, you need to quit, and then there's me, hey, do you need me to go get you a pack of cigarettes? Because if that's the last bit of fucking enjoyment that man's got left, by all means, just let him have it. There's nothing you're gonna do to stop this.
No, not at all, man. He lived life on his terms, dude, and most
Yep.
people would kill to be able to experience that again.
Yep. So make him comfortable. That's kind of, if we can get him through the summer, I'm gonna be pretty impressed. But that fucker's got 9 lives too. Like I've seen him bounce back from some shit that would have killed me. So,
That previous generation, man, they're
dude,
a different breed.
Die hard, man. That's Walter Payton. What did Walter Payton used to say, Tommy? Was it never die easy?
Believe so. I
Yeah,
don't
never
remember.
die easy, and that's that dude. I'm pretty sure that's like fucking branded in his body somewhere. Like he's 10 years ago he should have went. 15 years ago he had his first heart attack and should have went. Like this dude's a fucking cat, man. Like
Yeah.
shit that would have killed me at this age. Like he had his first heart attack at the age I am today.
My
And
my dad's been shot in the head, and he's only got one eye, and those are two separate things. And dude
oh,
just kept on going. It's like, oh my God.
yeah, that's the dude you don't fuck with.
Yeah, I know,
'Cause
right?
he ain't afraid of shit now, man.
Exactly. Yeah,
I got
right.
shot and it couldn't kill me. Wow, that's intense, dude.
Yeah,
Yeah, that generation,
different
man.
breed.
How old's your father?
He's 78.
Okay, so my dad's still only 65. I mean, he's still pretty young, And but yeah, I mean that's all that same generation. That's that baby boomer generation, man. They don't them motherfuckers. When the last one of them goes, man, like we are going to lose a big identity in America because those are some of the most stubborn motherfuckers I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, yeah, he's something. His dad died before he was born. So he never met his father, and he grew up. It was really, really rough for him because of that. There was a stepdad involved, and it's just, like a really rough upbringing. And he ended up turning it around like into adulthood, but that shapes a person different when they experience that and they want something different for their kids. Yeah, it's definitely something.
Yeah, I've been told numerous times by people, and Tommy can probably back this up, but you don't become a man until your father dies. So he was asked to be a man right away. My grandfather died when dad was 13, so again, kind of shaped his life. When
Yeah,
when dad made it past, I think it was 55. I believe that's how old grandpa was. Everything else after that was a fucking bonus to him. Like he outlived his dad. He didn't think he ever would. So everything after that was a bonus. So, um, you know, he's definitely gonna go out on his terms. So I'll give him that. He'd probably be in there flirting with a fucking nurse or something. Last time he was in the hospital, man, he was like hitting on this nurse that could have been my daughter, and I was like, Dad,
Nice.
you gotta stop, dude. Like, these girls don't want to hear this from this nasty asshole man. And like the nurse heard me and she starts smiling. I was like, listen, don't be afraid to put a catheter in this fucking guy and make it hurt.
Yeah, that generation was a bunch of perverts for real,
Oh,
dude.
dude, he's gonna die like trying to fucking flirt with a nurse or something. There's no doubt in my mind, dude. My wife, my dad adores my wife. You know, my wife's like 4'10". She's a real tiny petite thing. So like she walks in, man, he just lights up, and you'd swear to God that's his wife. It's fucking hilarious and disgusting all at the same time.
That's fucking funny.
Guys, this was awesome, man. Thanks. I
Yeah.
can't
Yeah, thank
tell
you.
you enough for doing this. I know it was kind of like a little bit all over the place, but hopefully, I really hope it helps some people. You know, kind of gives a different perspective. And you know, I ain't saying this because you guys are on the other side of the screen here. I tell everybody this. I mean, what you guys are doing, this whole revamp, Sean, has been awesome. I could totally tell you're reignited. And Tommy just loves to talk, so you could have had a better guy in here.
I told his ass that too. You need
you
some
guys-
color in this
No,
motherfucker.
but you guys are definitely like, you know, I listen to most of the podcast. Well, let me rephrase that. I used to. I stopped listening to most of them. But you guys are one of the few. Actually, the only one I turn on now. You know, you guys are definitely doing the right thing, and I think you're bringing awareness, and you're bringing in the right people, and it's very authentic. You know, you could tell you're not sponsored and being told what to say and
Nope.
who's ass to kiss. And just know, like, you know, for me, from a technician standpoint, guys, I appreciate what you guys do. It says a lot, and it's cool to see two shining stars. Even if Tommy's is a little dimmer than most, it's good to see
It'd
guys.
be that way sometimes.
It's good to see some guys that are respected in the
I'm
industry.
still
Really,
prettier than you.
I don't know about that, dude. You ain't got this going on, baby.
I gotta say, this was probably the manliest podcast that's ever been. These beards are something
I
else
know.
here.
Dude, last week, do you guys know Josh Parnell?
Oh,
He's got
I don't think so.
he's got a leadership podcast, and he heard me speak at Shop Fix, and he reached out and he's like, dude, I need to get you on my podcast. So long story short, him and his wife have a beard company, like a beard oil company.
Oh, okay.
And like, dude, I jumped on last Monday. He's like, dude, that is the most epic fucking beard I've ever seen. He's like,
You can be on a poster.
bro, he's like, can I send you some stuff and you be my spokesman? I was like, listen, man, I don't do that kind of thing. I'm like, but if you want to bring me some products, so you're supposed to meet me at Tools and bring me some, bring
nice.
some products. But seriously, keep it up, man. I appreciate you guys, and you know, you guys are killing it, dude. And again, I ain't just saying it because you're on the other end. I'm super proud of what you guys do.
No, we appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for spending time with us today too, man.
No, man, thanks
Yeah,
for having
busy.
me. It was nice to break up the night. It gets lonely just sitting in a hotel room.
Agreed.
That is going to do it for today's episode. Another big thank you to Andrew for joining us on this one. Great talk. Also like to thank everybody out there for listening to the show. Always appreciate it and appreciate the feedback. I'm not always the speediest person to get back to everyone, but I do try to reach out to everyone who sends a message, whether that be through Facebook or email. So send your questions, send your comments. If you'd like to see a particular person on the show, you'd like to be on the show, or you want us to cover some specific topic, let me know one way or another, whether that be through email or Facebook. But with that all out of the way, let's get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.